We must be on anytime soon. I think we are on right now, ain't we?
Yes, now it's on.
Okay, thank you very much. Yeah. Good afternoon, everybody. Those within Germany, or good evening, those outside Europe, Germany and Europe. And good evening. Thank you very much for attending this. May you please mute your backgrounds? Thank you very much. Thank you very much for everybody who is this evening to be with us here, or this afternoon to be with us here, to this very important session of what one really has to know when purchasing land or purchasing any kind of property back home in Kenya. You know, since the war has begun, most of us have been all along been thinking of going back home at one point, and at some point, uzee ikifika ndio tunaanzanga zile za I would like to know where I want to retire, but we as diasporans tumekuwa tukioshwa mostly, and I think most of us can tell a story ya kuoshwa while buying a property or while buying land back home. So on this day, I want to say thank you very much to Mr. Njoroge and his team for actually creating time to come and teach us step by step what one requires and what one has to know before engaging in such an activity. First and foremost, allow me to introduce myself. My name is Jacqueline Achieng. I'm the founder of Kenyan Women in Germany. For those who don't know the group, that is for Mr. Muga, for our guests and speakers, let me put it that way. This is a group that comprises of over 2,500 women, Kenyan women who stay in Germany, just like the name says it. And in the group, this is what we call home away from home. What we try to do is we help these women to have a place that can preserve their family unit and also to start new lives. We are kind of the ones who hold hands, give a shoulder to lean on to those who are new and to those who are trying to find out their ways, like guiding them in directions so that they can at least settle in Germany. Not only do we do that, we also happy if we empower them and empower ourselves, not only them, but also ourselves, to be able to contribute in economical development, and that is both home in Kenya and over here. And that's why such a Zoom meeting is one very important meeting when it comes to economical development. And we've been doing that. And now hearing from the host mouth what we have really to watch out while doing that in this section of property purchasing is really going to help us quite a lot. Mr. Njoroge of Pazurina, I want to say thank you very much to this opportunity. This is the Christmas present that he decided to give us. And with me is Jenny Nish, that is one of the administrator of Kenyan Women in Germany, and our community manager, and also the lady in charge of, one of the ladies in charge of domestic violence and abuse group, Charity Lats, is also on board today. And I say, karibuni tena sana. I see Jen Kitonga, that's also our admin. She's watching from Kenya. Karibu tena sana. So karibuni, and I will give this microphone to Nelius, who is one of the staff members of Pazurina Holdings International. Most of you know Mr. Joseph, but now we have Nelius on board, who is going to introduce our key speakers today. So the program is like giving it to Nelius. After Nelius, the key speakers will speak, and later on we will have a Q&A session. So we have some questions that we have prepared, and as time goes by, we have those who are watching us from our Facebook group. So Jenny and Charity will be picking up questions from the Facebook group as well. So karibu sana Nelius, and please just a short introduction and tuendelee. Karibuni.
Thank you. Good evening from Kenya and afternoon from Germany. Everyone can hear me? Okay, my name is Nelius, Commercial Manager, Pazurina Holdings. We have a big team with us, our learned friends. So if I say your name, you can kindly show by your hands. You can start by Joseph Munga. Thank you. Then Marvin Waweru. Marvin Waweru.
He has shown.
Okay, Moses Nganga.
Present.
Martin Runo. Okay, thank you. So I'll only be moderating the team. Then at the end, I'll talk about Pazurina Holdings very briefly. So I can start with our architect, Marvin Waweru. You can kindly come on board and share your teachings today.
Good afternoon. Ladies and gentlemen, I'm happy to have a chance to give a brief presentation, which I believe it will inform you as you prepare to invest in Kenya in the real estate. So I'll take about 10 minutes, and I'm just putting my timer there. Yeah, I'll take about 10 minutes. So I want to share my screen. Can I share my screen, please, Jackie?
Just a moment.
Okay.
Yes, I've enabled you.
All right.
I just wanted to ask that if there's somebody who wants to share screen.
Okay, thank you. All right. You can tell me once you can see my screen.
Yeah.
There.
Okay. Now, yeah.
If you can, you can see my screen, eh?
Yes.
You can see my screen, Jackie?
Yes,
The rest
yes.
of the team, yeah. So, all right. I want to, okay. I want to share a brief presentation on sustainable design. As you all know, right now we are moving to green buildings because of global warming and climate change. So I'd want to share heating and passive heating, cooling of your next dream house when you're coming to build in Kenya or wherever you're going to build. So I'll go straight on to the definition. Green building is the one that promotes its efficiency and the comfort of its occupants. So with this, you know, it's fundamental in terms of the comfort of when you are doing your next building. So I'll dwell on just number one, which is indoor environment and the quality enhancement and comfort. There are many other goals of green building, but then since I have about 10 minutes, then I will just share number one, which is how you can be able to shape up the indoor environment. And if my internet becomes unstable, let me know, please. Okay. So I'm going to talk about indoor environment and how can you shape your indoor environment, especially if you want to build in two areas. And I'm giving an example when you're building in Kenya. If you want to build in Coast, Diani, and if you want to build in Nanyuki, for example, and I'm using those two examples because of the difference in temperature or the climate in both. One is hot and humid, the other one is cold. So I'd want to share environmental friendly tips of how you can be able to achieve that when you're building your next establishment or home. So thermal comfort is all about comfortable temperatures in your dream home. It's not too hot and it's not too cold. So when it's hot and humid outside, then inside your house, you're able to experience cooler temperatures inside the house. So when you're building along the coast on hot areas, you require passive cooling. By passive cooling, I mean you are not using air conditioning. You are using natural ways to cool your environment. Then while building in the highlands, like Nanyuki, for example, you require passive heating, whereby you are not using again heaters. Sometimes it gets so cold in Nanyuki, you build a house there and you're always on using heaters, and that becomes a problem in maintenance because of the electricity bills. So number one, very important, a passive cooling strategy is cross ventilation. Cross ventilation is simply when you just make sure your room, your bedroom, your sitting room has two openings, has two windows, either on opposite side or however you'd want to locate it. But these are tips that you can share with your architect, that you can have two openings so that you're able to get passive breeze coming in and out. So sometimes we get a bedroom where you only have one opening, and that becomes a hindrance to passive cooling. So that's the first strategy. Try to have two openings so that you can have that passive heating and cooling. Then number two is high ceilings. So when you're building in Mombasa, it's good to have high ceilings of 3 or 4 meters. So because of the principle of warm air rising. When air takes some heat from the environment, it's less dense and it rises. So if you have, for example, what is shown on the presentation there, if you can be able to get high ceilings, then you'll easily be able to you can be able to get high ceilings. You can be able to get stack ventilation, what I've shown that there. Double volume spaces, I have shown a picture there. You can see that dining room. If you have a double volume like that one, the warm air rises out. Then you have an opening on the top area, then that air can be able to, warm air can be able to leave the room. Then I'll show you another one you can do. They're called clerestory windows, or those are windows on the upper side. This is a typical house in the coastal region where you have some ventilation on the top of the building and the air goes up. Then number two is a courtyard. You can have a courtyard. A courtyard is a central point between the rooms, which can be shaded, and it can help you to be able to cool the room. Then landscaping, you can use plants and trees to reduce glare and direct sunlight towards the windows. So if you can do some trees around your openings or apertures, which are the windows and doors, then that would be very useful in creating a good indoor environment. Use plants along pavings also. Instead of doing cabro in your entire parking, you can do some greenery so that you can be able to reduce the heat from the environment. Then this is very important, orientation of buildings. We rarely look at orientation of buildings. When the next time you're doing your project, sometimes you just tell the architect, mi nataka sitting room yangu nikuwe naona a gate, ama nataka kuona pale nyuma. It's very important in the tropics, especially if you are doing your house in the coastal region, to locate your openings away from the east and west. I know in Germany it's very different. This would be very different in Germany, but in the tropics like Kenya, you locate your openings in the north and south, because as you are well aware, the sun rises in the east and sets in the west. So if you can locate your openings away from the sun path, then it assists in passive cooling strategy. Then if you are building in the coastal areas, go with flat roofs, because they have a lower surface area to volume ratio. Sometimes people ask why are so many houses in Mombasa, for example, flat roofs. It's because it helps in terms of reducing the surface area. So ukienda ujenge ile naonanga 45-degree roof, then you'll have an issue. Sorry, I'm breaking to Kiswahili.
No,
I'll
it's
use,
we understand both languages very
you
perfect.
understand Kiswahili.
Lugha ya nyumbani.
All right. Then multi-stories are better, first floor and ground and first floor, because if where the living areas are on the ground floor, then they reduce heat gains from the roof because they are on the ground floor. Then at night, you go to the roof when it's cooler, the roof area, so the first floor, then the sleeping quarters can be on the upper story. So it is better to build a multi-story than a bungalow for the reasons that I have outlined. Very important, and also reasons of saving on land. Then I've shown you a picture of landscaping. Instead of doing curb row on the entire parking area, you can introduce some greenery. I've given an example there. Soften the hardscape so that you reduce the heat gain into your house. Then the choice of trees, height should be sufficient to shade both the first and second floors if you're going for 2 floors. Canopy size, you can get a landscape architect to size your canopy. If it's too small, then of course it won't shade your openings. Then the canopy should be sufficiently dense to offer optimal shading. The tree should be adapted to the environment, and the tree should be evergreen. You can plant a tree and it becomes a problem because it has shed all the trees and you're waiting for that to be your shade. Then next we go to color scheme. When you're building in the coastal area, use light, smooth, reflective surfaces. Usiende black, usiende brown, don't go for the dark colors. Go for white, go for light gray to be able to reflect off excess heat from the building. Then sun shading, locate your openings like how I've shown a demonstration there in your balconies. If your window is next to a balcony, then it is shaded. That canopy offers a shade to your window. I have about 12 minutes. Then there's something about glass. Glass is very important. We tend to use a lot of glass in the coastal areas, and this is a problem because you understand that the heat goes through the glass and it does not come out of the house. So if you're building in Mombasa, for example, if you can use shutters, you can open during the day. Avoid using a lot of glass. You want the views, yes, maybe you want to see the beach, you want to see the ocean. You can try and avoid glass and use openable apertures. Share the wooden what do we call them? The wooden shutters and all that. But you can try and avoid glass. Then the type of opening, avoid sliding windows because your opening may be 2 meters, but you can only use half of it because you are sliding the opening on the other one. So the best you can use is louvers, because louvers, you just open and they direct the breeze into your spaces. So don't go for sliding windows. Sliding windows will limit your opening. They limit the sea breeze you can get inside the room. And also, if you can use the last example there, which is a casement window. A casement window is one that opens outward or inward. Then we can look at maybe just briefly as I can. The opposite happens when you're doing in Nanyuki. You can locate now your openings on the sun path so that you can receive heat east and west. Now we are going in Nanyuki, it will be the opposite of what we have gone through. You will use now the east-west in terms of orientation. Then there is something important called thermal mass. If you're building in Nanyuki, it's very important to use thick walls. By thick walls, it means clad the wall with brick or clad it with timber. Very important. The thick walls, what happens is the heat is absorbed through the wall and it is released. By the time it's going into the atmosphere, inside the room, it is released in the evening. So thick walls is very important when you're building in such areas. And I'll share the slides. You'll be able to see the type of materials that are good for the highlands like Nanyuki and the rest. Then this is also very important when you're building in a place like Nanyuki, create airlocks. Don't open your door direct to your sitting room. Create a lobby so that when you open that door, you can go into a lobby, then to your sitting room, so that you can limit the loss of hot air from your environment back to the environment. Then avoid open plan if you're building in highlands like Nanyuki and the rest. Avoid a staircase next to your sitting room. The warm air will rise from your sitting room. You warm the air, it rises through the staircase, goes outside, and you are freezing there inside the house, wondering what's happening. Go for closed rooms if you are building in a place like Nanyuki. If you are going to build in Mombasa, the opposite. Go for such things, open plan and the rest. Then lastly, we look at radiation. That one, I'll share the slide. Yes, so that is basically the presentation. Hope it shall be, it shall help you when you're doing your next project in Nairobi or in Mombasa or in Nanyuki. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much, Mr. Waweru. Mr. Waweru, yes, Mr. Marvin Waweru.
Yeah.
What actually we didn't do was to give us a short introduction, and later on we'd also like to know, because what you're doing later on, maybe one or two people will approach you, and also your contacts as well. And I hope you will also share the slides with us so that we can also put them in the group. So maybe just a short introduction about yourself and
All right.
Your contact as well, where tunaweza tukakupata.
Sorry about that. Thank you. My name is Marvin Waweru. I'm an architect and I practice in Nairobi, and I consult for Pazurina Holdings in terms of several projects that we do with them, like mostly the beach homes in Diani and the rest. Where you'd find me is in Nairobi, in Westlands. That's where your office is. My company is called Freeman Arc Plants, and I'm happy to have this chance to interact with the diaspora community. Thank you so much, and I think I'll give the mic back to the facilitator. Thank you.
Karibu sana. I give it back to Nelios. Tuandikie kwa chat tafadhali. Marvin, tuandikie kwa
Yes.
chat contacts.
Okay, okay, all right.
Charity can share in the group.
Thank you, Marvin. That was a very great presentation. He's a very great architect. If you want to build anything, kindly consult with him. He's among the team which was there consulting about the Great Rift Valley. I know everyone in Germany knows about the Great Rift Valley. He is among that team, and it's a great place to visit. So for more information, kindly check the chat. So our second presenter is Martin Bruno, who is our valuer / surveyor. Martin, kindly come on board.
Marvin, can you stop sharing the screen, maybe?
Okay. Good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
My name is Martin Disho. Can you hear me correctly?
Yes.
Okay. Kindly let me share my screen so that
Okay. You are able to share it.
It is. My name is Valuer Martin Disho. I work with Gallant Valuers Limited, based in Nairobi. This good afternoon, I'm pleased to be with you to present on how to purchase property. And I'll deal with the issue about the land economics and the emerging land management trades. Land is one of the factors of production, amongst others, such as labor, capital, and entrepreneurship. It is considered as one of the original and inexhaustible gifts of nature. Land economics deals with the pricing of land, its utilization, and development. Why do you need a land economist in your team? When you're purchasing a property, you need to do a land search so that you can confirm the ownership details, the area, encumbrances, if the land has a loan against it, any restrictions and cautions. you also need the land economist to buy the survey maps and to confirm that the property exists on the ground. Due to surveying errors, some properties exist, you can do a search for them, but they don't exist on the ground. So you need the land economist to confirm that the property actually exists on the ground. You also need to, the land economist to do evaluation so that you can know if what you're buying is worth the money that you're being charged. You also need to do a feasibility study so that you can know the rate of return for the investment. The land economist also is involved in the maintenance and management of the property if the property is built up. You also be able to collect the rent for you and to manage the facilities. Land economists are also involved in the agency and consultancy of land-related issues. On emerging land management trends, I'll go directly to one of the issues. There's a trend whereby people are moving from areas with high population density and are going to areas where land is in plenty. For example, in Kitengela, whereby about 20 years ago, it was a small shopping center, but right now is a town as seen on the aerial photo from Google Map Extra. That's just an example of one of the towns where people are moving towards and others. Another trade that is emerging is the value-added plots. The sellers are going a step further to provide amenities and services such as access roads, street lighting, stormwater drainage, electricity connectivity, water, sewerage services, perimeter walls, landscaping, and borehole water. There are other amenities which are provided depending with the capability of the person who is selling the plots after the subdivision. The advantages of value-added plots include you reduce the initial cost due to the economies of scale. Assuming you have 100 plots, the buyers of those 100 plots will go to Kenya Power to get connected to electricity. So the initial cost will be so high than when done by one person. There is low maintenance cost of those services provided, whereby if you are provided with access roads, the management company will cater for the maintenance of the whole estate. And then there is improved security within the gated communities. There below, we have an image showing a value-added plot. It is provided with the access roads. There is water connectivity, electricity, street lighting, and stormwater drainage. That's just one of the examples. Casuarina Holdings Limited is also selling value-added plots in Malindi and other areas, but we'll get to hear from them as they present. Another emerging trend is gated estates, whereby developers of gated estates design the houses and the buyers choose the design from the designed houses. The amenities provided are controlled by a management company, which does the facility management and maintenance of the common areas. The advantages of buying from a gated estate include there is a reduced initial cost, as Ari explained. The maintenance cost is low. There's improved security, and then there is privacy, whereby when you are owning a house within a gated estate, you have much privacy than opposed to a standalone house, whereby you buy a plot, for example, in Kitengela, and you build your standalone house within 100 acres. And then if the land is in a leasehold interest, there is the ease when you are renewing the leasehold interest upon expiry. There below, we have a view of Casuarina Golf Resort. They are selling plots within Ukuda near the airstrip, and it's provided with a golf course and a classic hotel. This is just an example. We'll be able to hear from them as they present the other projects that they have. Another emerging trend are cottages and lodges, which we call holiday homes, whereby property owners are within a gated community, they buy a house. You either choose to live in the house when you are around in Kenya, and then when you are outside the country, you can let the management company manage the house for you. The advantages include there is income generated as opposed to leaving your house at a lock and key. The property is optimally utilized, whereby there is no loss of interest if the money is borrowed because you are getting something from the property. The depreciation of an occupied house is much lower as opposed to a house which is at a lock and key, whereby vagaries of nature and termites might eat the roof up. When the house is occupied, there is no depreciation of the property. And then buyers can own same house, whereby you choose whether you come for Easter or for December holidays. So you can own a property which you use as a holiday home. There below, we have a view of cottages. They are built up in Nanyuki areas. And it's just an example of some holiday homes. Another emerging trend is Airbnb, air bed and breakfast, whereby you own an apartment within a block of apartment with its own title, and it is registered in your name. You can choose to reside in it, or you can let it out to tenants when you are away. The advantages include the income generated, the property is used optimally, the depreciation is much lower, as already explained. You can own the property, and then you get to own a property within a prime location, whereby you could not have afforded if you were to buy maybe land, for example, in Kilimani. You can own an apartment, and the location is much prime, and you are near the city. And then the title of the property can be used as a collateral. There below, we have a view of some Airbnb apartments in Nyali area, whereby the owners occupy the house when they are around in Kenya, and they let them out when they are away. About Gallant Valuers, we are involved in evaluation of properties, in property management, estate agency, site acquisition, and feasibility studies. There below, we have some of our clients and our contacts. That's the end of the presentation. Thank you so much for your time. I hope you will interact more during the Q&A. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mr. Ndichu. And I'm sure we're going to get back to you, you being a land value and surveyor at the same time. So this is something very important because most of us, we just go out there and buy land. So maybe knowing you more, maybe hearing from you will also, sorry? Did somebody say something? Will also help us to know where to buy what, whether that land is agricultural land or maybe it's a land where one can build something. So we are happy to have you on board. I want to say thanks once again to Pazurina Holdings. Nelius, the ball is on your court.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Martin. Our third speaker is Moses Nganga, who is a quantity surveyor, who will be taking us through constructive standards and cost versus value. So welcome, Moses Nganga.
Thank you very much. Hi all, Jackie, can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you. I'm able you to share your screen in case you want to.
Yes, I really need to.
Okay.
Yeah. My name is Moses Nganga. I'm a quantity surveyor practicing in Kenya and based in Nairobi, though we offer services to all corners of the Republic of Kenya. This evening, I will present to you a very tricky topic on construction standards and also costs versus value. Jackie, can you see my screen?
Yes.
Thank you. So on construction standards, it's very important to note that it's a little bit technical field, and most of the standards you will likely require professionals to interpret them for you. And obviously we have quacks in the industry who pretend to understand the construction standards. So we'll just go through such. It's a brief presentation, and I'm just going to follow the PowerPoint that I had prepared earlier on. So we'll start with the construction standards. These basically are published specifications that define the quality or the quantity to be used in a project. We have a number of standards applicable in Kenya, and this just some because it also depends on what you're building. So these are the general standards that I've picked. Obviously, if you're doing a hospital, you need more standards to cater for that specialized purpose. So here I've gone with the common one that you cannot avoid. And the first one is county government regulations. This is where you have the building codes and regulations. We unfortunately in Kenya are using very old building codes, very old. There's an attempt to revise, and it's still in a draft format with the parliament. So we are hoping that bill will go through soon. Otherwise, as is now, even if you have a small plot of land, there are tricky building codes and regulations that will make your development much smaller than you would have wished. That basically is more of an architectural topic. So we cannot actually dwell so much on the building codes and the regulations. But all you need to know is, as a developer, as an investor, you really need someone who understands these codes. And possibly that should be an architect to interpret them as they design and give you a product that will get approved by all those authorities. Now we have Kenya Bureau of Standards, KEBS. They have specifications for a number of things, cement, for example, steel, for example. So they have a number of specifications that they have set, which you are supposed to follow when you're procuring materials or when you're doing any development. The commonly used is the British standards. However, this is from the old days. Now, most of the documents, the tender documents, you'll find that you have this British standards being referred to. Although slowly, with time, we are seeing a shift from the British standards. Many actually don't understand these standards because you have to refer to quite a voluminous document to understand most of those standards. Then we also have the NEMA. This provides the environmental standards. So these are the critical bodies, which is my next topic, that regulate the standards and more like set the stage for designers and developers. We are going to have a look at the bodies in Kenya that are responsible for maintaining standards. We have county government with the inspectorate department, and this is where you start with getting an approval. So no development, no construction should proceed without a county government approval, whichever county you are in. Then we have National Construction Authority. You must have your project registered with the National Construction Authority. It's a really simple process, unlike the county government. For NCA, you actually do it online. It's free of charge at the moment, though there's a fee that was there, 0.5%, was scrapped. I understand it might come back soon. Then we also have NEMA, mostly for multi-dwelling projects. You will need to clear with NEMA. There's some payments to that regard on the NEMA approval. There are also now the professional bodies that now regulate the professionals who actually undertake the project. So if you engage your architect, if you engage Marvin, if you engage a quantity surveyor like myself, there's a board, there's a statutory body that checks on our practice. And obviously, if you don't do as per their code of conduct, the standard set and all that, you will face disciplinary actions, just like any other profession. Engineers do have a board as well. So most of the professionals, even here in Kenya, do have their statutory body, which check how they offer services. Now, these services that you're offering, remember, they're the ones that really talk on the standards. So if you don't have a body, if you engage a professional who is not registered, who is not licensed to practice, possibly you will have a project where standards are compromised. Then I thought it's important that I just mention on what you need to know if you're a developer or an investor and you want to do a project back here in Kenya. You really need to engage professional consultants, and these consultants do help in implementing the standards and advising on alternatives. The bodies, the county government and the National Construction Authority, NEMA and all that, cannot monitor the day-to-day activities on our sites, on our construction project activities, and so on. So you rely on your consultant who has an indemnity cover, who is licensed, who should give you the best advice, the best quality of material should be used on site. That is an advice that should come from your consultant. He is your eye on site. Then you need to engage competent contractors or artisans. These stories of, I know someone who has built, I know, you really need to get someone who is competent, and the way to know whether someone is competent is, number one, this person needs to be registered with the National Construction Authority, because that's the body that registers and regulates the practice of contractors. Artisans, with National Construction Authority in Kenya, they also register the foremen, the fundis, and all those skilled workers. So you make sure that any project that you're doing, you can get those registration documents. If you're doubting any, you can actually call the National Construction or write to them and they'll confirm. We have a problem or a challenge with the diaspora client, because you engage your brother, he tells you have someone who can build, but you don't do a due diligence to find out this person, is he registered? Is he qualified to do this job? To mention an example. Then you need to make sure that you're procuring quality materials and in line with the standard set. We have seen here in Kenya materials that are not up to standards. I don't want to mention any country at this moment, but we are seeing a situation where most of the African countries have become dumping materials, even for construction. They are getting their way to our sites. Then you need to make sure any development that you're doing, you sign a contract. Yeah, just as our Wakili will mention, it's so important. If you have engaged a consultant, sign a contract. If you have engaged a contractor, sign a contract, because now that shifts the responsibility from you as the developer to the consultant or the contractor, because they are mandated to do that job. We have challenges that we are facing when it comes to adherence to construction standards in Kenya, and these unfortunately have led to a number of buildings collapsing. Recently, we had two, I think, on one on Thursday and one on Wednesday and the other one on Friday. And these are 6-story buildings. Yeah. So the challenges, the reasons why we are having this building collapsing and all that is because we have challenges with the people implementing the project not adhering to the set construction standards. You took your drawing for approval, whatever was approved is not what you're building. And because of shortcuts and all that, we are having buildings that are collapsing almost every rainy season in Kenya. So I just mentioned the 3 reasons which are key. Corruption is one of the biggest problems in developing countries, and Kenya being one of them. We have developers or investors who bypass the system. So they don't want to get the approvals and all that because they know what they're building may not actually, pass that test. So they bribe their way, you bribe your some officers from the enforcement bodies and also the inspectorate bodies. So you are able to build without even submitting any document for approval. This is what is happening. In such a case, then you are told you have to build very fast because the officer who took your money want you to move as fast as possible before possibly he's transferred or something happens and the boss or someone discovers what is going on. Now, on this one, we have the buildings that are collapsing and the ones that collapsed the other day. No professional, no approved drawings were found. So you obviously would imagine what had happened. They corrupted their way. Unfortunately, whatever little or much the guy had invested, now he has to live with some cases because we had some debts. Now we have another challenge, which is engaging quacks. Quacks, these are unqualified persons who claim to have construction knowledge. And we have a big challenge with this one as well. They know how to design, they know how to construct, but when it comes to taking responsibility, they will not even sign any contract with you. So be wary of who you're engaging as your architect, as your valuer, as your whoever. Because if you engage a quack, you'll end up with poor workmanship, purchase of materials, budget escalation, risk of collapse, and they really don't care because they are not regulated. They are just quacks. Yeah. Then the final challenge that I would mention today, we have a gap in training of skilled workers. Most of the workers in our construction sites get trained by apprenticeship. You find a guy, apprenticeship without educational training, because if you get trained by apprenticeship, okay, but then that need to be supported with educational training. So a guy works with as a casual, as an assistant to a mason. For 6 months, he moves to another site and takes over the role of a mason. Now, such a person cannot understand the standards. So he will know how to build a wall, but he doesn't know that you need to pour water on that wall for a number of days to help cure. He doesn't even understand why you pour water on wet concrete. And now the curing process enhances the standard of that, the quality of that wall, because there's a chemistry into it in terms of how cement works. So if I just got trained by being shown how to build a wall without being told what components are used, why we need all these, you will have such a person with a problem to understand the qualities and standards. That is a big problem because most of the investors we see nowadays tend to prioritize trust even before they consider competence of any fundi. So they'll say, this is my neighbor, I know him, he has built the entire of this village, I want to work with him. But that guy, possibly, he has been lucky, whatever he has built before did not collapse, or the client didn't care about the standards or the quality. So the topic on construction industry, I would like to end it there, but it's a broad one, but technical one. All you need is engage a professional who will now take responsibility on the standards and who will actually break it down, just like Marvin was doing in terms of the specifications and all that. The next topic is cost and cost versus value. This one will just scratch the surface because it's a very deep topic. This is a topic that you can actually discuss for a whole day, not just in reference to construction, but basically cost versus value in its meaning. Now, I'll move very fast. A successful project, we say, is one that has been managed, to create an enhanced value, and the costs are within what possibly the client would say reasonable. The analysis of cost and value enables project stakeholders to understand the activities and resources required to meet the project goals. Now, when you understand what you are looking for and your budget, that analysis itself helps you to, even track your project, understand what is expected in terms of the output and input. So there's no way you can separate value and cost. And I just want to move straight to how you implement cost versus value in construction industry. You really need to conduct a feasibility study of what you really want to invest in. If it's a holiday home, whatever project it is, you really need to start with a feasibility study to know whether whatever you want to do makes sense. Then you need to assess and compare your budget and the brief. Then accurate cost estimation. This is very key. You need, from the word go, to have a proper cost estimation, because that will help you in making subsequent decisions. You need to set your goals and requirements. Proper planning, this is obviously key. Then you need to identify and evaluate material specification and alternatives with focus on materials availability. This is just like what Marvin was mentioning on the glass and all that. You really need to identify and evaluate what options do I have and what adds value, what can I replace with. Then the procurement approach, competitive bidding versus direct procurement. That's key. Contracting approach, either full or labor contracting. A full, you allow the contractor to procure materials and build. A labor is where you procure materials yourself, and the contractor just implements the labor aspect. Then you have cost control and cash flow management during construction. These items are these are just some of the ways you can implement cost and value, because it's a balance. You need to strike a balance. So for you to strike this balance, you really need to do, amongst others, what I've enumerated there. Then we always say that this analysis is better done by someone who understands, and therefore you possibly need to engage a project manager or a quantity surveyor who, in liaison with other stakeholders, can be able to help you in interpreting and understanding all this. There is what we commonly call value engineering, which is and should be done in almost all the projects, because this is where you remove the excess fat on the meat. So you make sure that you are getting value for your money, that you're not over-investing on something that really doesn't add value to your property. Now, the value engineering topic is also a very broad one, which we have not actually enumerated what it entails properly here. But if you have a project, just make sure that before you go to site, before you go to the phase of implementation, you really understand that the value I'm getting by investing whatever cash that you're investing is second to none. It's something that if you call now Martin, the speaker was just before me, would tell you that the value for this property is sure you actually did a good thing. But if you spent, say for example, 10 million Kenya shillings in constructing and bought a land at 5 million, then when you call your value after finishing construction is giving you a value less than what you spent, that means something was wrong in your entire process, and people may have benefit from that process illegally. We have challenges that we face during the analysis of cost versus value. We have a disconnect between what the clients want and what they can afford. So this is one of the biggest challenges we have, where the brief that the client gives to the architect is more or less not proportional to the money that they are ready to invest in that project. So that is always a challenge, but with the right professionals, you will always tackle it. And then we have reliance on costs for similar projects in computing the project budget. You know, all projects are different, and because of the site conditions, time of implementation, it is good to assess every project individually. We have had problems with clients who tell you that my neighbor spent a figure X. Why is my house, why am I spending double? Not understanding that the neighbor, possibly his house or her house, doesn't have tiles. You're actually doing hardwood floor. So every project should be assessed individually. The other challenge that we encounter, and these are things, I'm mentioning these challenges because if you have a project, you really need to make sure that you don't fall into these categories. We have stakeholders who do not understand the build-up of their costs of their project. Yeah. What I mean with this is you'll find someone telling you that we can replace a masonry wall with some, technology that I had from I don't know where, not knowing that that wall does not is insignificant, if I may use that word. So when you're doing your project, you need to understand, how is my cost built up? What is the foundation cost? What is the windows cost? What is the roof cost? All these costs, if you understand them, then you will be able to know you will be able actually to do a cost benefit analysis together with your professionals. We have people who will tell you that I have a lorry, I can be able to supply my stones. But then what component does the stones form in terms of the overall budget? So that is a challenge. Developers need to understand the build-up of the cost in their project. Then there's the perception that when cost is lowered, the project value and standard are also lowered. This results to bypassing the value engineering or such an analysis. This is wrong. Sometimes when you do a proper value engineering, you will find that possibly you are spending much of your money on the wrong choices of material, whereas you have alternatives. If, for example, you are talking of what Waweru was talking about in Mombasa, in the coast regions, if you want to do a glass facade, it's so expensive here in Kenya, and it's actually not adding value to your development. It's giving you more problems. So you can actually replace that glass with a cheaper material, and at the same time not lower the standard, because it becomes more habitable and better for the occupant. Substandard products in the market, this is common. I think this we are leaving it to the government also to try and help us, because you may not be able to monitor your construction throughout the day. You are there for 1 hour. Minute you leave, they bring some substandard materials. But again, this is a challenge that if you have a competent contractor, artisans, professionals, they will be able to even do tests and confirm whether your products are up to the expected standards. We have shortcuts in a bid to reduce costs. This is obvious with the collapsing buildings. We have seen where in a suspended floor, someone is using what we call is a BRC. It's it's the one that you use for the ground floor, but they're using it on a suspended floor instead of laying the bars. So that shortcut is what actually leads to structural failure of buildings. And with that, that's the end of my presentation. your presenter works with Integrated Prime Consultants, where I'm the managing director. We deal with project and cost management consultancy, and we are currently working with Azurina in their Diani project. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Mr. Nganga, for such a wonderful presentation. I'm sure we are going to meet each other at the Q&A session. And remember to share your contacts also in the chat so that our community manager, that is Charity, can share with those who are viewing us from the Facebook page. Asante tena sana. Now I'll give the microphone back to Nelius, who will call the next speaker. And yes, karibu, karibu. Ladies, I
you,
hope you're
Moses.
preparing your questions. Okay, sorry.
Thank you, Moses Nganga. I'm so sure we've learned something. Let us keep the questions for the Q&A session. Now I welcome our legal team, who is our Joseph Munga Wanjau, who is our advocate. So kindly welcome Munga Wanjau.
Yeah, good evening. Jacqueline, is it afternoon? Is it morning?
Sisi huku tumewashinda tu na 2 hours peke yake. Mumetushinda na 2 hours peke yake. So don't worry.
So it's in the evening.
Yeah, early evening.
Good, good, good. My name is Munga Wanjau, an advocate of the High Court of Kenya. I am more in conveyancing and land and family matters. So conveyancing, we are talking about land and property acquisition and any matters are arising therefrom. I'm going to give a very quick, an overview of land acquisition in Kenya. Land acquisition and registration in Kenya. It is an elaborate legal process that also is complemented by the works of the architect, valuers, surveyors, in actualization of the due process. Land is a very emotive issue, and it's normally very, very, very technical in implementation of the processes. There are land registration acts that are in effect in Kenya, and the most particular one is Section 7 of the Land Act 2012 that outlines legal processes to actualize a legitimate title deed, to legitimate as a legal title deed. Since its enactment in the year 2012, various amendments have been made, more particularly on regulations. I'll go straight to the 7 ways you can legally acquire land in Kenya. Before I comment on the 7 legal ways, I would wish to say the process of land title verification is very critical. First and foremost, you have to go into the issue of doing a land search to establish the validity and authenticity of that title. Failure to which sometimes some titles have disputes, are riddled with disputes, either from family or from a long stretched legal entanglement. So a search is a primary process of any land acquisition before you go to the paperwork of doing the sale agreement, transfers, which are normally done by a legal expert who is a lawyer. The transfers, there will also be the land acquisition of the consent from the land board. This one is dependent whether the land is freehold or leasehold. So freehold title is where the land is in perpetuity. But the leasehold, the land is restricted to a certain period. Could be 50 years, 90 years. It is dependent on a timeline. So upon establishing these processes, the agreement is drawn, it's signed by the parties before an advocate, and those other instruments are prepared. Then there's the issue of lodgement of the respective documents at the land office after processing of the due stamp duty. Once it's processed, there is now the issue of assessment of that stamp duty. A point in case now is the registrations now are being done online. The processing of the land registration is online. So of primary importance is if the purchaser or the seller is a company, that company must be registered with BRS, Business Registration Service. It's a new concept that came up in 2015. So all companies must be registered with BRS. It's not optional for that company to be linked on a business registration service portal with the registrar of companies. Is a mandatory requirement. So that one now it depends. But if it's a natural person who will say an individual, that necessity is not required. So I'll go to the second one. The second way that you can legally acquire property is through government allocation. In essence, the government transfer public land to an individual or on specific time and use with special conditions, originally known as, in legal parlance, as leasehold. So that leasehold will have some conditionalities. You have to develop that property within a certain time frame, failure to which that property can be acquired. The government can repossess it. So that is something very critical for anyone buying leasehold property. That does not apply to freehold. Then there is a adjudication under Land Adjudication Act, Cap 280. This is undertaken by the government primarily whereby rights and interests in areas of community land are mapped and for subdivision and equitable distribution to deserving citizens, previously or traditionally referred to as trust land. Adjudication is the process through which existing rights in community land are authoritatively and finally ascertained for benefits of individual entities. This is anchored in Land Adjudication Act, Cap 284 of the laws of Kenya. The process is initiated once the Minister of Lands has given declaration that a trust land area be excised and be utilized for a specific equitable use for the community. Then we also have compulsory acquisition. This one normally happens when the government establishes a specific development and maybe the citizens have encroached, or the government would want to use a specific private land for that specific, either is a road or a manufacturing plant. So that this is provided under Land Acquisition Act, Cap 295. The government can purchase that land provided they pay a fee that is reasonable and within a reasonable time. This is always done through a notification. And why we are saying it's compulsory acquisition, your rights are curtailed here. You don't, yes, these citizens' rights are curtailed, but there is compensation. That compensation might not be market value. It is dependent on percentages that the government will deem fit and reasonable. There are always challenges in that, but the government is always reasonable on that issue. We also have adverse possession. Adverse possession is where a party in a private land has stayed in that property for 12 years, and out of ignorance, maybe you have a land, you have never acquired a title, maybe you'll be having somebody taking care of your property. The assumption can come to haunt you. Yeah. After 12 years, someone can raise either through advisory, can say, I've been living here for 15 years, I've raised my children here, this is my home. And this thing is very prevalent. We have so many cases in court. The court is bogged down by these cases. And the new constitution did not address this issue very adequately. So it's still a legal tussle on adverse possession. So when you purchase land, make sure you go to the very end of acquisition of a title. Don't leave the process on allocation or through an agreement is drawn by an advocate. Maybe he's pursuing that title, then you leave the matter to hang. That can come to haunt you in view of somebody utilizing that land in your absence. So that person has what we call constructive ownership. He's there, he's not there illegally because he's there with your consent. And that constructive ownership can end up being a very technical issue and to haunt you in the future. We also have acquisition of property through Sectional Properties Act of 1987. This is where you can acquire property, apartment or flats. You can own a flat and still have your unit and still have a title. Maybe the flat has 10 floors. You still have, that's what we call, you get a title through Sectional Properties Act. So all those individuals will have specific title. Before, the title used to be one. It was being held as a mother title at Lands Office, but now the law has allowed individuals to have their individual titles. We also have land through fractional ownership. You have had the issue of fractional ownership as investment option. This has been very common, especially in the coastal region. Even you people in Germany, I believe you have had it. It is predominantly for vacation homes. Your share of the real estate rises as the value of the home rises with the market, just like whole ownership. The only thing is you not be holding a title, but you'll be having leasehold of that title. So that specific title might be held by 30 people. It's very common in holiday homes at the coast, but you have a share. So you'll be allocated time. It's like you bid when to utilize the cottage or the apartment. And the value, the cost element is minimal, because maybe we talk about maybe 1 million, 1.5 million, and the property maybe is worth 25 million. So you co-share. Mm-hmm. So you derive a benefit when you want to utilize that property. That's when you derive a benefit. There is also another form of land acquisition called land by transmission. Land by transmission is necessarily, we are talking about succession, where the owner or the deceased passes on and leaves who was now the benefactor. He leaves the property to the beneficiaries, either through a will or through a court process where you file for succession costs, get a grant, get confirmation of grant, and the property is distributed to the eligible beneficiaries where there is no will. So that one is also very common, but it's through what we call the Law of Succession Act, Chapter 160 of the laws of Kenya, which is an elaborate process also, because of you have to file the succession, do the gazettement in the Kenya Gazette, then go through the court motions for purposes of legitimacy of the properties to the beneficiaries. We also have what we call land settlement programs. The government, as the custodian of land community, has legal authority to pass over ownership of land through settlement programs by providing access to land for squatters, families, displaced over people by natural calamities, and mostly it's a localized arrangement where the government has to look at the constitutional rights of those people within that area. I can talk also about the issue of with the proclamation of the new constitution in the year 2012, Parliament enacted new land laws. There are new land laws that actually govern the land acquisition and registration in Kenya. We have the Land Act 2012, and also the Land Act Extension of Leases, Land Act Registration Act 2017, Land Registration Act 2012, the Land Registration Regulation 2017, the National Land Commission, review of grants, which relates with the review of grants and disposition of public land and regulations of 2017. The legal regime, the new legal regime of the new land acts replaced the old regime. There were some acts that we used to call them the Land Act Cap 282, Registration of Titles Act Cap 300, and the Government Land Act. All these acts were repealed and they were replaced with one consolidated land act, that is the Land Act 2012, it is very elaborate and very robust. In the new proclamation of the new constitution, there was one major achievement that was never before. That was the formation of the National Land Commission. The National Land Commission work is to monitor and have oversight responsibilities over land planning throughout the country. This is a new body that is now vested with public land and community land. So where leases expire, it's only the National Land Commission that can verify those leases and renew those leases. So that is not discretion of the land registrar anymore or the Minister of Lands. So it's actually the National Land Commission is the custodian of the community land. So, but I wish to comment that there are challenges bedeviling the National Land Commission over conflict of interest and roles vis-a-vis the Ministry of Land, revocation of titles. You see, once the leases and also once the leases expire, there's always that conflict and who should have preference over the renewal of these leases. So there's an ongoing process of aligning these laws. So it's a continuous process, I would say, It's not cast on stone, and we need. I need just not to go to the issue of registration per se. Upon verification of the title, and upon lodging of the title for registration, the prescribed fee and register and stamp duty is paid. This now is normally paid. Registration of instrument is now done electronically. So one, it's mandatory for you, the buyer and the seller, to have an e-citizen account. Now it's no longer manual. There is the issue of electronic registration. So you must have an e-citizen account where you log in, scan the registrable instruments or documents, depending on the nature of transaction. So that is very primary, that it has to be done. Unless there's I leave most of the issues on the Q&A. What I just would want to mention as I finish is the expose that we are having here, the architect, the valuer, the surveyor. I believe it is very elaborate and makes it easier for the viewers or your group to understand the intricacies in the land acquisition and registration in Kenya. I would leave that to the Q&A, where we could touch base on more areas of concern by the members. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Mr. Muga Wanjau, for such an elaborated part. And I think that is what also most of us, the legal ways, the real legal way of acquiring this land is what is really holding most of us back. And if we can hear this from you, and I'm sure there are enough questions that will come along regarding this part, because I'm sure questions will be coming like acquiring as a non-Kenyan, acquiring property, as all these kind of questions are just going to follow up. And that's why I'm also looking forward to the Q&A session. Before we get there, I'll ask Nelius to tell us something about her company that has given us this Christmas present here, to have like all the 4 very important persons in acquisition of land to elaborate this for us. Sorry, Nelius, nimechukua nafasi yako lakini nimekukaribisha tena.
Thank you. You can kindly allow me to share my screen.
Yes. I have. I can see my plot.
Thank you. I'll share briefly about Pazurina Holdings. I can start by introducing myself. I'm Nelius Loco, the commercial manager, Pazurina Holdings. I'll speak briefly about Pazurina. So I'll start with why Pazurina Holdings. Pazurina Holdings is a real estate company dealing with beach holiday homes there in Diani. So our properties are in Diani, and Diani, as we all know, has one of the best beaches in the world. It is a major tourist destination in Africa. Recently, the government has invested heavily in Diani and expanded the airport, as well as building the superhighway road from Mombasa to Diani, that is Dongokundu bypass. You don't necessarily nowadays to use the ferry or any other means of transport. You can use road from Mombasa to Diani, which is a major game changer there in Diani. Pazurina has several properties in Diani, with price ranging from 290,000 to 3.5 million for town and beach properties, respectively. As our legal partner Wanjau was teaching us about title deeds, he has taught us 2 different title deeds, that is freehold and leasehold. So in Pazurina Holdings, we have ready title deeds for these projects, and all the title deeds are freehold. So I'll take you through our 4 major projects very fast. Our first project is Pazurina Golf Resort. The second one is Diani Beach Suburbs, then Bustani Gardens, Ukunda Upper Hill Estate. So Pazurina Golf Resort. Pazurina Golf Resort is an estate which is only 800 meters from the beach. That's a walking distance from the beach, actually. It's 10 minutes from Ukunda Airport, which is very expanding. We have a mini golf course, which is a 9-hole golf course. We have a classic hotel next to the golf course. You can kindly look at this map. The green part is the golf course. Then this, the part I'm clicking is the classic hotel. Then these are our properties, which is the Pazurina Golf Resort Estate. Our estate also has a perimeter fence, which is a controlled development or a controlled area. All these plots are inside a perimeter wall. Then water and electricity are already in sight. And the area stretches along Diani Beach Road, and the quota is going for 2.4 million. So this is our one of our major projects, which is Golf Resort. If you can look at this is our perimeter wall, which covers the whole area of the golf resort. This is water, which is already available on site. This is a water tower. This is the plot going for 2.4 for a quarter. If I can go back to this map, the ticked means the plots are sold. The unticked, they are not sold. Maybe if you can see an R means the plot is reserved. Maybe a client has reserved for maybe to do the due diligence, which Munga was talking about, or maybe he has booked with the money he had. So we put the plot as reserved. So I can go to our second project, which is Diani Beach Suburbs. Diani Beach Suburbs is also beach property. It's 800 meters from the beach, just like the other project. It's 10 minutes from Ukunda Airport, 10 minutes drive from Ukunda town. It stretches along Charlie Road, concrete pole fencing, and prices range from 750 for an eighth and 1.5 for a quarter. Maybe a client or an interested viewer may be asking him or herself, why is the price difference between the 750 and the other golf resort? And they are both beach properties. The major difference is that the first project, as we've seen, we have a perimeter wall. So we have a controlled development. We will use the house typologies given by our architect, Marvin Waweru, as he was saying. In this other project, the Diani Beach Suburbs, you are free to do what you want to do in this area, bearing in mind it's a beach property. There's no controlled development, there's no perimeter wall. We only providing concrete pole fencing. And the project is a beach property as well as the other beach property. The difference is that there's no golf and there's no controlled development. But we're providing any other thing like the other project, like water, electricity, fencing, title deeds are ready, just like the first project. So this is our land. I'm so sure everyone can have a look at it. The price is 750,000 for an eighth and 1.5 for a quarter. Then our third project is a town plot, not more of the beach, but now more of the town. It's 6 kilometers from Ukunda town. It's off Lunga Lunga Road for most of us who've used that road. It's near Marianis Technical Institute, near One Life Sanctuary, borehole water available, perimeter fencing and electricity on site, and an aid is done for 550,000 for cash buyers or 650 for installment buyers. This is what I'm talking about. We can see the fencing already here, and we can see the project. This is the map. The R means the plots are reserved. The tick means they are sold, the antique, they are not sold. So it's more of a town project. It's very ideal for commercial establishments. And also you can do more of something which is more of a beach, but you need to drive to the beach, but not walk into the beach. But it's 6 kilometers from Ukunda town, which is very ideal for commercial establishment. It's a town plot, very ready to settle down immediately. Everything is ready and very ideal for establishments like commercial Airbnbs, which our first speakers were talking about. Then our last project is Ukunda Upper Hill Estate. This is 7 kilometers from Ukunda town. It's next to Technical University of Mombasa, suitable for hostels and commercial establishments. A 50 by 100 is going for 290,000 shillings only. This is one of our cheapest product, which is 290,000. Very ideal for hostels and commercial establishment. As you've seen, it's 7 kilometers from Ukunda town and next to a university, Technical University of Mombasa. So we all know, if we have a university around, hostels are very ideal, or commercial, anything for students. It's very ideal, going for a very affordable price for everyone here in Kenya and also there in Germany. I'm sure this from Germany, someone can raise it in 1 hour and you book this plot today. I can see Jackie is struggling to see the price. 290,000 in Germany is affordable. So 290,000, that is our project. So majorly we have four of our projects: the Golf Resort, the Diani Beach Suburbs, the Bustani, and the Ukunda Upper Hill. So if you want to reach us, kindly, we have our head office at Morningside Office Park, first floor, which is along Gong Road. You can either call us via 0715 566 566, or you call us via 0728 770 770. You can also leave an email to us, which is info@pazurinaholdings.co.ke, or you can visit our website, which is www.pazurinaholdings. Our site visits are on daily basis or weekly basis prior to arrangements. So if you want to view our properties, you can make arrangements through these numbers or through our email or through our website. Whichever way you can reach us, you can book your site visit. You go see the place and then you make arrangements maybe for buying, due diligence with our lawyers and all that. So we also have major open days monthly. You can wait for the major open days to reach us. And accommodation is free for the clients who probably wish to visit the area for site viewing. So that is briefly how Pazurina is. For any question, you can kindly ask.
Oh, thank you very much, Nelius. Hapo penye nilikuwa nimefungua macho, I just got a shock that one can raise 290K in Germany within 1 hour. That one, but we are working for it for months. So, hiyo kitu kidogo. Yeah, thank you very much. At least most of us now know about Pazurina, and you've seen the lands and the properties that they do have in there, and a few ladies within Quick. I know that they are in there. We have like our small area within Pazurina. So we are entering the session of Q&A, the long-awaited session as well. And I will suggest that by the show of hands, so that you can be chosen. I can see from my screen, and then you can be called upon to raise your questions. I will start with a question, and I think this has been bothering us. Charity, I've seen your hand raised. This has been bothering me and quite a number. And this question will go direct to Mr. Munga Wanjau, advocate.
Yes.
As you know, most of us have changed their nationalities. We've acquired the German, and that you recognized immediately, even before the meeting began. So my question to this is, how can I acquire land in a rightful procedure, despite the fact that I have changed my nationality. Some of us are able because we gained another document, but that one who still has the German, who has the German nationality and renounced her Kenyan citizenship. What is the rightful procedure of acquiring a piece of land?
Actually, to be very precise, any foreigner who wishes to acquire land in Kenya is free to do so. Any foreigner. The most critical issue. Hello?
Yeah. No, better.
There are no restrictions per se on acquisition of land in Kenya by foreigners. The only issue is you have to give your documents, your identification documents have to be in good, have to be up to date, your passport, and also you have to declare what you do as a foreigner. Then those other processes, if it's a company, even your own company in Germany can acquire property here. What we do, there's a search that you're going to provide, a search from your registration department in Germany. They have to confirm if it's a company, is it a company that is in good standing? The way we normally do here in Kenya, what we call Sierra 12, to confirm who are the directors or shareholders of that company. If it's an individual, confirm your status. So the most critical issue, if you are a foreigner, or whether you don't have dual citizenship, you are not restricted from acquisition. The land law did not restrict foreigners per se. The most important thing is declaration of your status. Then the due process has to be done through an advocate. I've done acquisitions for foreigners in the UK, in the US, and they own property here, land. The most important thing is to declare, if it's a company, what do you do? And if you have come here in a residential permit, give that declaration. So there are no hardline restrictions on acquisition of property here.
Just to add something on that, if I acquire land, or anybody who is a German holder or a foreigner, let me call them that way, acquires land, is the title deed a lease or is a freehold then? Is there a difference in that?
Yes, what we said, the issue of leasehold and freehold is dependent on the area. If you are on the urban, if you are in towns, we talk about property within urban areas. Let's say Nairobi, Nakuru, the urban areas. Those are leaseholds. That's leasehold. When the property extends beyond the urban area, it's freehold. There is a demarcation. Like now the county governments, if you take now the county government of Nairobi, has zoned where the leasehold area reaches. So you might even find some people in Kangemi. Do you remember Kangemi and Kawangware?
Yeah.
I'm just giving examples. There's Kangemi and Kawangware, those people have freehold titles. But by virtue of Nairobi County government or the old Nairobi City Council extended the zoning of Nairobi. So those parts are part of Nairobi, and they also now pay rates. You own a freehold title, but you pay rates because the land has been zoned as part of the urban area. So if you have a freehold title like now the Pazurina titles, that land can be zoned. It will depend now with the county government. Can declare that area to be part of to pay rates, but that does not change your title per se.
Okay.
So you can have a title, a freehold title. Even if you are a foreigner, you can have a leasehold title as a foreigner, being a foreigner. You are not restricted.
Thank you. Thank you for that. I think most of us wanted to hear that. Charity, I can see your hand up. You came as first. And
yes, thank you very much. It was an interesting talk. I just wanted Mr. Wanjao and Nelius, please just write your details here because I'm forwarding them on the Facebook closed group. The quick.
Yes,
Facebook.
I'll send even my write-up.
Yeah.
I'll send my presentation to you and all my details.
No, the problem, the issue is because there are
Yeah.
people listening right now, so I am just putting them on the chat, on the Facebook
Okay.
Messenger. There are people who are following this there.
I'm
They're
in Pioneer Building.
not- please write it for me when you have just finished. It's okay. I'll copy it from
Okay,
there.
Thank you very much. Thank you, Charity. I can see Purity, your hand is up.
Yeah, good afternoon, everyone. My name is Purity. The first question I wanted to ask is the same that Jackie asked, so that is answered. But again, I would like to add on that one, as in a plus question. What if I form a company and, for example, I am a Kenyan and I have like 2 foreigners or 3 foreigners? What happens? Is there any advantages? That is to the advocate, please?
Sorry, can you repeat that question again, please?
What if I form a company or we form a company and I am a Kenyan, I still have a Kenyan citizenship and I have 2 or 3 foreigners with me in the company? What happens? Is there any advantage or is there any changes rather than
the vantage point is you being a Kenyan. It's actually a perception issue.
Yeah.
It's purely a perception issue because previously there were restrictions, but those restrictions have since been removed. Especially during the Moi era. During the Moi era, foreigners could not own property without the inclusion of a Kenyan citizen. You could not even register a company without inclusion of a Kenyan citizen. Those restrictions have been removed, but for purposes of good order, it's always good to have a company secretary on board who is a Kenyan, who can monitor your transaction and your legal processes. So most companies, most foreign companies, if they're registering, if they're owning property here or they're registering a company, they appoint a company secretary. And I am a company secretary. You can appoint me.
Good. The next question will be, when you were talking about the search of a plot, when someone wants to acquire a property, I did not hear anywhere you talking about green card search. And I would like to know at what point do people do the green card search for lands?
Exactly.
Okay, green card search is normally done. It's not a mandatory requirement, especially when you are doing buying and selling of property or land.
Mm-hmm.
But it is normally done, especially when the land is the land originally, or the first registration, or the land was owned by maybe a land buying company. So we want to establish how that property, upon acquisition, was subdivided from the mother title or the parent title to maybe another 50 or 100 titles. Like now, someone doing, if you want to acquire property, like for example, Pazurina, you can request requisition a green card. So it will give you historical facts of that title.
Yeah.
But if it is just ordinary, I'm selling property to you, green card is not a mandatory requirement per se. We normally go for it where there is hard evidence or information that the land was expansive and subdivision or mutations were done. So you'd want to establish the historical facts from the first registration, second, and the third. Because right now, if you acquire property from Pazurina, you'll be a third owner.
Yes.
So that's where now green card comes. but it's not a mandatory requirement in all transactions. It depends on the nature of the first registration, where the lawyer would want to establish how the land from the will have been subdivided and mutations, how they have evolved. It's actually an issue of evolvement of or devolvement of that title.
Okay.
Yeah.
Now I get it.
Yes.
The other question I would like to ask to what is the name? Nelios or the lady? Nelios, could you please tell me exactly where Diani Beach suburbs? Nelios, can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you.
Okay, could you please tell me where exactly the Diani Beach suburbs are located? I didn't get exactly where the map is.
Diani Beach suburbs is only 800 meters from the beach. It's in Diani. I don't know the exact question. Maybe you can come again kindly.
So I thought like there's a name of that place.
The area, name of the
Yeah.
area.
Sorry?
I thought that there's a name like the area, like for example, how can I say, like when you talk about the Bustani Gardens, I know exactly where Bustani is. So where exactly is the Diani Beach suburbs? What is near there, or what is the local place whereby you can say this name, like which hotel or something like that?
Okay, thank you for that question.
Hmm.
Diani Beach suburbs is in Kwale County.
Mm-hmm.
It's 10 minutes drive from Ukunda town. If you've ever been to Ukunda town, it's 10 minutes drive from Ukunda town.
Mm.
And it stretches along Chale Road. I don't know if you know Chale Road.
The Diani ni nyumbani, that's why I'm asking. I know like everywhere.
It stretches along Chale Road.
Yeah.
Maybe our director is here or somebody from Pazurina, maybe you can expound more. Joseph, kindly.
Mr. Njoroge.
Yes. Fine,
How are
fine,
you?
fine. Very fine. How are you?
Yeah, you can see me.
Yes, I can hear you. I can see you.
Okay.
Fine. I get your question.
Mm.
These properties are in an area called Garu.
Yeah, Galu. Okay.
Yes, yes. They are in Garu. They are near, if you know the hotels along there, they're near a hotel called Karista.
Yes, I know what Karista
Yes.
is.
Exactly. We are around there. They are our neighbors.
All right.
Yes.
So that's it for now. Maybe later. Thank you. Thank you, Jackie.
Thank you very much, Purity. I can see Terry, T-E-R-I. You had asked some questions, but maybe it will be nice if you can raise them here yourself so that you can also be answered. And for now, I can see Jenny having her hand up. Maybe Terry, meanwhile, you can unmute yourself. Do you want to ask right now or after Jenny?
I can start now.
Okay.
Hello, everyone. Yeah, the first question, you asked it already that I had. And then the second question was like, is it possible to like buy property under a company that as a foreigner, I start up a company in Kenya and buy properties through that company? Or is it possible to like set up a trust and buy property through that trust such that the properties are not directly under my name? Question for the advocate, please.
Yes, a quick one. Yes, you can own property in Kenya through an advocate, through a company.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, it still be through an advocate. Don't laugh, Aching. Yes, yes. Are you Terry or
Terry?
That name is it German?
No, it's Teresia, but it's the short form.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Okay. You can own property through a company. It's allowed. We have the 2015 Companies Act actually even allows you to own property solo. You can register as a company as a sole director and sole shareholder. Or you can
Okay.
have two directors, two shareholders. It is the issue of registration of company. It's allowed. A company as an entity can own assets or property.
Mm-hmm.
You can also own property through trustees, a trusteeship. That is also provided for by the law, very much in order. Is actually now up to you what you'd wish to acquire the property. But we always advise a company is better because if you have children or you have it's your husband, you can allocate shares. There's that issue of survivorship in a company. And it doesn't have rigorous laws governing it like a trustee.
Okay.
Trusteeship has a lot of legal entanglement. Actually, it's not a very popular way of owning property these days because of the legal intricacies in a trusteeship. It's like something that is dying. So the best thing is company, because the company regulations and the company law has been eased up. It's not very complicated as it was. You can see you can own property as Teresia alone and decide how you are going to deal with that property. So I would advise owning property through a company. It is easier to manage. There are no legal implications or ramifications in that acquisition.
Okay.
Yes.
Oh, and is there an advantage of owning company as a person, or owning property as a person, or as a company? Which is more advantageous?
No, you see, the reason why people register company is because of the issue easiness in survivorship.
Okay.
You see now, if you are registering as an individual, and you pass on, you see that property will have to be subjected to what we call administration, the succession course, so that the next of kin must come and administer that estate. So your property now will be part of the estate. But if it's a company, maybe it's you or your husband and your children, there's that what we call perpetuity.
Okay.
So the company can still move on, and they can still the issue of ownership will not be distracted.
Okay.
It is only be the issue of shares, who holds what. And if you pass on those shares by right of survivorship, they will revert to the subsisting shareholders and directors. And also to point there, you can register a company, be the sole shareholder, and also appoint directors, because you can have a director non-shareholder. Okay. Maybe you could want a director just for purposes of managing your estate or managing your company. So that is becoming a very common practice where people register a company. I own my company. It's my property, it's my company, but I have directors for purposes who are the drivers behind that company in whatever business or transaction the company is undertaking. So it's not something cast in stone that when you are a director, you must own shares. That is a misconception always people have. You can have a company that has shareholders, directors, non-shareholders. And it is becoming very common, especially people living in your area, Germany, Britain. We have incorporated companies. So he or she holds the stake. But the people who are now here in Kenya are the ones running that company. So they're either remunerated. But as time goes, if he or she wants to give them shares, nominal shares, they can. So that is good to distinguish that you can own your own company, hold the whole stake, and appoint directors.
Okay. Thank you very much.
You could give me directions forthwith and register one for you.
Oh, okay, I'll get back to you. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Terry. Now we have Jenny, and then I see Susan's hand is up. But Jenny, you raise your hand before Susan, and then after you, it's Susan. Ladies, tulikuwa tumesema 2 hours, but 2 hours zimepita. Is everybody okay? Tukiongeza another equate 2.5 hours and then to stop? Ama kuna wenye wako na haraka? Terry ameinuka. Especially the speakers, because for us, this is something that this goes to the speakers, the guest speakers. Are you okay maybe with some 15 minutes more? Tuongeze some 15 minutes more?
You know, we could add you more because we are optimistic you are bringing business.
We are.
So we shall be adequately remunerated in the near future.
Mutarudi hapa bado. I'm sure we'll still need more sessions. Thank you very much. Thank you for your understanding this. Jenny.
Yeah. Good evening, everybody. Thank you, our speakers, for the very nice, detailed explanation of everything. We've learned a lot. So I have a few questions. My first question is gonna go to the lawyer, our advocate, because he was already talking, Mr. Wanjao.
Yes.
So yes, I hope I did not miss anything because my laptop kind of went off, but I'm gonna ask anyway. In case somebody asks, you can just skip it and I will watch the video later. So I was asking about the lease. We heard there's lease and there's freehold of property. Yes. So you say that when you have lease, it's limited to a certain number of years. My question is, if I'm buying property and it's on leasehold, how will I know how much time is left on this lease? Is there a way of knowing?
Yes. The time span is normally indicated in that certificate of lease. Certificate of lease is just like a title. So there is a time, page 2. On the second page, you find that lease is from this time to this time. Maybe you can find the lease is from 1972 for 90 years.
Okay.
Or, yeah, so even if, let's say, there are some leases we were actually, from last year, we were renewing, we were extending the leases. Provided you are in the property, the issue of the timeline of the lease should not worry you.
Okay.
There are some you can get the lease, maybe it will end by the time you are 104 years. Thank God if you'll be there. But expiry of leases has never been an issue. The only issue is if you are granted a lease, utilize that property as per the special conditions given thereon. But the government cannot withdraw or cancel that lease unduly. It doesn't happen.
Okay.
So that's not something you should belabor on. You should not belabor on whether the lease period is short or long. I always tell people, buy the property. We just note in our file, the lease is expiring in 15 years. Before the 15 years expire, you renew the lease. And now that is the work now of the National Land Commission, as I had indicated earlier. And they are reasonable, and it's actually a due process, and you can never be shortchanged.
Okay. So that means, for example, if right now I want to buy land that has 5 years to go, I should not be worried about that. When it comes to renewal, even if it's 2 years, everything will go smoothly. It
will go smoothly. We have done it severally. It will go smoothly.
Okay, good. Then there's another question. I don't know if it's you. Somebody mentioned about e-citizen.
Yes. There's now this mandatory of electronic registration.
Yes. Does that apply to whom? Does that apply to? The buyer, the seller, or everybody who is?
Anybody who has a PIN.
Okay.
Do you have a PIN?
Yes.
Yes, if you have a PIN, we shall just register you with the e-citizen.
So you apply for e-citizen as a buyer? So
Yes,
every buyer
even
must
the
have
seller.
this. Okay.
Yeah, even the seller. Actually, if you come to Kenya, register in the eCitizen. Have that number. So when you want to do transaction, you just notify your lawyer. You are registered in the eCitizen. It's actually a mandatory requirement now in all registrations. It's not. It's mandatory. It's not a matter of choice.
Oh, good.
Yes.
Okay, thank you so much. That's all from me for you. My next question will go to Mr. Nganga. I think Nganga was doing construction quantity survey.
Yeah.
Am I
Mrs. Nganga.
Yes.
Yes.
So you mentioned a 0.5 fee that used to be there.
Yes.
You, I can't remember. I didn't get exactly what that was for. If you could like briefly touch on that.
Thank you. We initially had a fee, a levy on when you are registering your project with the National Construction Authority, was 0.05% of the project cost. However, that was scrapped a few years ago because it was like, you want investors to come in and yet you're charging them. And this is a government body. So at the moment, that is not fair. We understand because obviously the government want to raise more funds. They might bring it back. But at the moment, there's a levy when you want to register with NEMA. When you want to get approval from NEMA, there's a fee, about 0.05 of the project cost. However, that NEMA only applies to multi-dwelling or industrial factory. A single dwelling is rare. It's rare. They will not require you to register with NEMA or get approval from NEMA.
Okay.
But of course, the other bodies that I mentioned, they do charge. The county government, if you want your plans to be approved, they do charge based on the area, the size of your development. So they have rates. Different county governments have different rates. Yeah.
Okay, thank you for that. So my next question is, we talked about the cost of building when you have a project. You explained how to check on the cost and stuff like that. So we've seen in the last 2 years in inflation. So for example, if I'm building and I get a contractor, I sign a contract with this person. So if this project is not done by the time we agreed and the money is used up because the costs went up or something happened, how am I affected by this? Or does it go with my contract? Me, I gave you the money, we agreed for this certain time, and I don't care, I want my property done. So how does that work? Because I'm saying this because I work in logistics and supply chain, and I know that you can have like an agreement with a company that is supplying you materials, and you can have like a permanent contract with them for, you can say like 2 years. Within 2 years, the materials, I'm going to buy them at this cost. So within that 2 years, you're going to supply me the materials and you're not going to change the cost at any way. I don't know how it happens in Kenya. So my question is, in case the prices go up, how does that affect me, and what is supposed to be done in this case?
Thank you. Normally, what happens when you're signing a contract with the contractor, you decide whether you want the clause on fluctuations to be there or to be deleted. So that is a call that you make, because fluctuations, okay, in the modern world, it's not working to the advantage of the developers because prices keep on going up. But I will tell you, 70% of the contract, 70 to 80% of the construction contract have that clause deleted. So it's upon you as a contractor. If the prices go down, you have an advantage. If they go up, then you take that risk. Now, with the COVID, we were having ex gratia claims, whereby it's not provided for in the contract, but it was rather obvious that there were some disruptions and some prices actually went beyond what you would even have projected. So we were reviewing, and we have been reviewing those claims as ex gratia. Yeah. but most of the developers, most of the investors normally delete that clause of fluctuations. If you wanted to have the clause, then you really need a quantity surveyor to work out based on the cost indices that change, because a contractor will just come within a random number, but you need a professional to guide you. We normally discourage developers entering a contract which has fluctuation clause, because it's very difficult to to implement that.
Oh, good to know. Thank you. So my last question, I don't know if it goes to you or to the architect. So we've seen issues where houses, maybe apartments are built and then they have cracked walls. After you move in, the walls start cracking. What causes this? Is it because our maji enough or what? I don't know who can answer me that question.
I don't know whether Marvin is still around. The architect is actually the person responsible with workmanship. In post-contract, when we are constructing, you pay the architect to conduct inspections and approve the workmanship. So I will allow Marvin to respond to that. I don't know whether he's still with us.
He is. Marvin, we cannot hear you.
Can you hear me now?
Yeah.
You can hear me? Sorry about that. I got your question, Jenny. Is it Jenny?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, you're talking about cracks, maybe after the house is complete and you have moved in and you're noticing cracks on the walls, and you're wondering what can be causing it. Now, there are a variety of reasons that may be causing them. There are some cracks that are very deep, and they are structural cracks. You'll see that the crack, if you want to know a structural crack, is a crack that you are seeing on both sides of the wall. For example, one side is a bedroom, the other side is a washroom, or the other side is another room. So if you can be able to see the crack in this room, and you go to the other room and you are still seeing it, that's a serious crack. It's a structural crack. And that one can be caused by a number of reasons, and most of them are structural in terms of settlement. Settlement is in the foundation. So what happens is if the workmanship is not well done by your contractor or your foreman, then it's easy. There can be problems in the foundation, and that will cause cracks in your wall. But there are some cracks that are plaster that you cannot see on the other side. They are not structural. Those ones are as a result of probably curing of the plaster, and you can easily remedy them by just replastering that wall and you paint it back, and the crack will not reappear. But for the structural, they keep reappearing and they keep reappearing. And sometimes you may not be able to deal with them. Even if you try and probably replaster that wall, the cracks come back because the problem is at the foundation. So I think unless sometimes there are so many buildings we have looked at, and you find a crack in one wall, a structural crack in another one, unless the extent is in probably many other walls, then it can be a cause of alarm. But then if it's probably in one wall, it's something that shouldn't be a cause of alarm to you.
Thank you. I'm asking this because out of personal experience from my brother, he bought some property. He's in the UK, and after paying mortgage like 1 year, we noticed cracks and they were really deep. So he had to cancel the contract. But we were like, how can you know such things before you buy the property? Because whenever we buy property, when it's new, you don't see such things. Yeah. Thank you for the answer.
Yes, true, Jenny. You cannot be able to because the settlement comes later because of exposure. As the building ages, then that's when you are able, settlement occurs, and that's when you are able. Unfortunately, it's very, very hard to notice these cracks when the building is new. And we have seen so many apartments, especially nowadays in Nairobi. You buy an apartment, after probably 2 months, you are noticing some cracks at the door area, some cracks at the wall, and you're wondering what is happening in this one. And then now at that point, the developer has left the site, right?
Yeah.
The contractor has left the site, And usually as architects, and the QS is also tell you this, we have a 6 months defect liability. So if it's within the 6 months, it's easy now to go back to the developer, and the developer can go back to and claim the contractor to come back and remedy that. But then usually the cracks appear, and the contractors know this way after the 6 months. Yeah, so the contractor is already out of sight, and now it's usually an issue with the purchaser.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah, now we see why we need to engage ourselves with professionals to avoid such things happening. Good, thank you so much, Mr. Nganga, Wanjao, and Waweru for your answers.
Thank you so much, Jenny, for the questions. Now we have Susan. And after Susan, maybe Charity, you could go into the Facebook group and check out on the questions there. Just sum them up because time is also running again.
Thanks, Jackie. Hello, everyone. And my only question is to Mr. Wanjao. I am a very near, hopefully very near in the future, a seller. And I have listened to all your legalities, and they are a bit too many. My question is, as a layman, that is too much to take in such a short time. My question is it possible, and probably I could involve you in the sale. Is it possible to get in touch with you in the near future for consultancy for all that you have told us, for clearance on some things? Is it okay to get in touch with you?
One, it's very much okay. I'll also provide you with a abridged version of what I've presented today. I'll send I'll send it through Mr. Njoroge.
Yeah.
So that is my work.
Yes.
I'm a defender of the oppressed and champion of human rights and public defense.
That's the best word I have heard. Of the oppressed.
Yeah, so I'm ready and willing
Mr. Wanjao,
to assist anybody who has any legal matters pertaining to conveyancing. Conveyancing is property and land. We can engage constructively. I'll share my emails and my contacts for futuristic business.
Okay, thank you very, very much. And rest assured, I will get in touch.
Most obliged.
Thank you.
Ladies, that is why we have them here, and we are asking all our guest speakers to share their contacts, because these are customers. So that each and everybody of us can approach them with different matters, and that is why we are here and they are here for us this evening. So feel free and get in touch with them. Contacts ziko mpaka kwa Facebook page.
Good.
Okay. Thank you very much. Charity, and then maybe you just sum up what has not been asked. I've seen some that have been asked. Maybe just put one or two that have not been asked, and then we can have Virginia. We are almost closing.
Okay, thank you very much. I'll just read them. They're very fast, and then some of them, because there's somebody who said, what are these freehold titles? I think that was answered. The person will have to go back to the to the video, to the replay. And then there's also, I thought all plots have title deed with a red watermark on it. Are there some with indenture? Would you kindly explain this indenture? And then is it possible to fire a director? I think that one was answered. The directors are chosen by the owner. And can we please get the advocate's number, please? Yes. Yes, I told them to wait. I'll send it to them. And there's one last one, which I also wanted to ask. Does the issue of filing nil tax return affect when you buy land?
First, that issue of nil returns, let's start there. Because sana sana nil returns ni wizi.
Guy.
Why do you file nil returns? Let's start from there.
Because there is no business that I'm doing in Kenya apart from just owning a piece of land that I don't even pay the land rates.
No, that's what now we are saying. The Kenya Revenue Authority and the government have said, even if you're not doing business, there are some accounts that can be done to demonstrate. Is the company dead? Is the company liquidated?
Okay.
Yes, you see now, these are the issues that the new regime, and actually they were there even in the old regime, that they are trying to bring to the fore and to the limelight of Kenyans. There's nothing called nil returns. Everybody has a status. A company is not dead. You have registered a company. There's a way, if this company is not trading, you have to demonstrate whether there's the issue of the directors. Are the directors themselves doing business in other capacities?
But this is
You
in
are
terms
director
of a company. What of individual tax?
Yes, do you file individual tax?
I do file nil returns on my individual tax every year.
This is where you might have a very big problem with the Kenya Revenue Authority, because they have established, some people could be genuinely filing nil returns, but some, it is just, it's trendy. You are just, it's an escapist route not to pay taxes.
When can we invite you for a session on this?
This session I would want us, this session I would want is available. I would want us to hold with an auditor,
please,
in place, so that you can understand these processes. Because people are finding, even our clients are finding themselves in a very awkward positions on the issue of filing nil returns. The day you'll come here, you'll have an array of questions from KRA. When should you file nil returns and how it should be filed? It's not just a matter of just entering in and filing nil returns. There are processes which an auditor should advise how to fill those forms.
Yes,
No, I'm not scaring you. I'm telling you because I've discovered is a very thorny issue with most what we call diaspora people.
Let's organize a session for this, please. Let's organize a session for this. When do you have time?
Yeah, that's a session. I would also is a matter of I should also engage an auditor.
Can we do it early next year before we start filing again our nil returns?
Yes. It can be done. I'm not scaring anybody, but I'm just trying to say it's good when you are seized with this information.
Yeah.
Because I keep getting this information on filing nil returns, and it has become a very tricky issue, especially because it's done just like a matter of course. But if you are to file them, get proper advisory.
Okay.
There's what you can declare and what you cannot declare, so that the auditor can know how to fill that form, not just putting nil. That's what the government now is against.
Okay. January is the month for this topic, please.
Yes. That one we can hold. We can agree on when to hold that meeting with the proper professional, so that you can understand the pros and cons of filing a nil return. It's not just cast on stone. You just feel a tick and you say you are done. Yes, it can come hitting you back. So it's good we get the real professionals answering that question.
Please, so for that topic, let's do it in January, because that is a topic on its own.
Yes.
Yeah. Sorry, Charity, for getting in that.
one.
Reem, the topic
one-
will be in January.
Yes, I've written that on the group. Yeah.
There were other questions. There was one question, I think, about the watermark title deed.
Yes, all title deeds have the red seal. Certificate of lease, which is equivalent to a title, also have a red seal, which is a mark of identity on that document. So actually that is more of a legal requirement, but all ownership documents, titles and certificate of lease have the red mark,
Okay.
have the red seal, and an embossment of the have a seal and an embossment of the red seal.
Yeah.
Any question on that?
There was
Yes.
a question, an additional to that which the person was asking, is there a risk of a land having two owners? Does that happen?
A land cannot have two owners unless they are jointly owned. You know, there's what we call joint ownership or property owned in common. So you can have two people in that title. That is allowed by law. But their names must appear in that legal instrument. Yes, you can co-own a title. That is
And
allowed.
when you want to separate,
Sorry?
when you want to separate from your co-owner, do you have to go and do the valuation again to get your title, a separate title? You go through the process all over again?
Yeah, it
Or
will
do
be a
you do
matter
it
of.
or do you do it at the lands office,
will be
regardless
done-
of where immediately?
It will be done at the lands office. It's just a matter of doing what we call filling a transfer form, because either party has half share. It's a matter of you have half share, so you can transfer your half share.
So you don't
So
have
there
to
will be
get a valuer again and all that process.
No, the valuation will have to be done, and a stamp duty will have to be paid on the half share.
Yeah.
Yeah, on the half share, because there will be a new document, there will be a new instrument that will be prepared. So it's a whole legal process that you go through.
Which takes
And that's
forever.
also to have, and there has to be a consent. The other party has to sign a consent, has agreed to transfer half share to the other party.
These things take
Thank
so
you
long
very
in
much,
Kenya.
Susan.
It's unbelievable. Thank you anyway. Thank you.
No, I need to clarify that. It's no longer a long process like before. These days, we have very specific forms for doing this type of transfers. Yes, and especially when I said things are now done electronically.
Yes.
Especially now in Nairobi. Nairobi was the area that was zoned for purposes of a pilot study, how the electronic registrations can be done.
Yes.
So
I understand.
Let's be optimistic. Kenya, we are growing. We are growing, madam.
Kenya imeendelea. So, ladies, let's try and make it a bit shorter, because there are so many questions, and maybe later we can collect all the questions and send them over. But now I'll give, Virginia, umeweka mkono chini. So I see Astra and
I can ask very shortly.
Okay, please. Let's make.
My question is just asked, but the point is, we have seen in Mombasa a lot of cases where people own illegal or the legal title deed for the one piece of land. Where comes this mistake? From the offices, and why the people sell the same land again and again, and then they get a new title deed. Where do they get these title deeds? And my second question, I just asked both, is we have also seen cases of people leasing land and they build. And then after some time, the government demolished all the buildings. So at this point, who is to claim? Because you get the Lindsay maybe from government or the people who are on the land, and you get a permit to build the building from the government. And after some time, they say, tunataka kujenga barabara. So they didn't know this, they didn't have this plan, and you lose everything.
I'll start with the last question. Yes, it's true. The government can take over your land through compulsory acquisition. And that is provided by the law. I think I'd covered that Land Acquisition Act 295. And you can be compensated commensurately. So that's a legal process. If the government feels this land the road should be expanded, or a manufacturing plant should be built in a specific area, you'll be compensated adequately. You cannot hold a government through it's provided in law. It's like a policy. You cannot hold development that has come to pass.
Yeah.
Like now, what was happening in Thika Road? Initially it was just one highway. Then it became dual carriage. Houses had to go down, but they were compensated. You cannot hold something when time has come. You are talking like one person who has somewhere, you have a property near the valley. Be careful.
The property on the Red Linda Highway, and then somehow I was in partnership with another person, and somehow he told me they were never told, it was demolished. And so because we didn't have a illegal partnership, so it went, I lose everything.
No, did you have a title?
Myself, I didn't have a title. It was a leased land. So I went to a partnership when he had already the property, and he said it's a Lindsay for 100 years. I think something like that. So within just 1 year, they demolished.
Did you have the original lease certificate of lease, or it was just ordinary leasing, someone giving you land to utilize? You know, those are two different things.
I was in partnership with him, so it was like he had everything. So at the end of the time, no, walikuwa nasema it's clean papers. So and anyway, it went so long, and I didn't have the time to run in up and down.
No, you are conned. You are conned. I can say you are conned.
Virginia, why don't you look for Advocate Wanjau Kando? Alafu hii case mnaweza mkasort kwa. I think this is
we can go to the nitty-gritties at a later date.
Yeah.
You just need to engage us constructively.
Exactly.
Yes. So we can attend to that.
Thank you very much. Purity, muda ni chache, ya kuongea ni mengi. Weka fupi fupi and then Astra, please.
Hakuna matata. I only have a very quick one to Mr. Waweru. Where Jenny asked about the cracks on the buildings. It's a very quick question. So does it mean it's better for us to buy property and build from scratch rather than buying ready buildings? So sometimes people like us think buying something ready is more easy and quick, and with less stress. You don't have to monitor, you're not there, you don't have time. I mean, is it advisable to do it the other way around?
Mr. Waweru. Maybe one of you can pick it up. Simone hapa ndani.
Yeah, okay. How's the other guy?
Maybe if I can
yes.
Obviously that's a docket where the architect should be the best person to respond to that. But you see, what I mentioned is a challenge to do with the people building. So there's some lack of standard or shortcuts that were done to that building, whether it's for sale or whatever. So you can actually start from scratch and end up with the cracks. You can as well buy a building and stay with it without any crack or anything. So the thing is, you need to do due diligence even before you buy a finished product. Due diligence says you need to possibly engage an architect just to cross-check the documents and understand whether there were approved drawings, regular inspections, the consultants who had been engaged, whether they actually approved all the stages. So it's just a due diligence that you need to do. Now, the problem that happens with most of the buyers, you just engage Mr. Wanjau. So he will not advise on the technical issues. He'll just, engage you legally and safeguard your interest legally. But now when it comes to the technical aspect of it, you need possibly an architect who can actually scrutinize the document and see whether all the stages of constructions were done. For example, I'll tell you, when you're building a high rise, it's a mandatory to do concrete tests. And we have labs that are accredited to, so you take samples of the concrete and you take for lab testing. So you need to check whether all that record exists. And the only person who can help you is a technical person who can actually now scrutinize all those documents. So a crack can appear even if you start from scratch. So it just depends with people engaged doing the job, the standards that we had talked about, and when you're buying, obviously due diligence.
Okay. So an architect is able to tell if something is stable, even if it's a old house?
Yes. In fact, I wish he was here because he has a case he's handling now where one of our clients want to buy an old hotel. And, the deal was looking good until when he engaged Marvin. And he was told that you might spend an equivalent of the amount that you are buying to renovate. So
yeah, I'm asking because I went through the same thing some few years ago. So I didn't know that,
engage Mr. Wanjau on the legality issues, but consider a technical person for advice. Otherwise, you'll think you're getting a very good deal, but kumbe someone is disposing because of the challenges, and then you'll have to spend so much to bring back that building or that unit in habitable condition.
Thank you. Thank you very much,
Charity. Astra.
Hi, everyone. Good evening. Yeah, so my question goes to the advocate, Mr. Wanjau. I just have a question. Like now, there is people who want, maybe they're not able to buy those plots as singles. Like now I'm talking, there is a group which is really fighting to come together and be buying together maybe plots and be selling it maybe later and share the profit. What can you advise on such cases, or what are things that we should take in consideration in the matter of legalizing that, or maybe to avoid problems in future? Because their group, they're really interested with the, for example, with Pazurina project, and maybe there are people who cannot buy as singles, but they want to come together and do it as together, maybe more than 5 or 10 people. What can you advise on such cases to avoid a problem later in matter of sharing maybe shares or profit?
Okay, the easiest way is to register a company. Register a limited company, and where shares will be allocated to the 5 or the 10 members. Then that company can purchase or can own property in Pazurina as an entity. A company can own or sell property. In future, you can agree whether to sell it or subdivide among yourselves. So that company, it will be easier to own through a company.
Yeah, and there are people like who are Kenyans and the others who have Germany citizenship now. Does it affect if we are mixed of Kenyans? It doesn't affect.
I've registered so many companies where we just need to establish. I need a copy of your passport. Because now that's what we shall scan. I say this registration is normally electronic because the company has to be registered through Business Registration Service, which now has undertaken the services of registration as Sharia House. So once you have the copy of the passport, your passport photograph,
PIN number,
and now the pins for the Kenyan citizens, we can register a company. In the CR12 is the one that shows the particulars of directors and shareholders. It will indicate there's a column, nationality, United States, or Germany, or Britain. It indicates very clearly.
Okay.
Yeah, so registering that company is not an issue. You can liaise with me, and we can register a company. And forthwith, we can engage Pazurina for you to own properties. You can take 10 plots.
Actually,
For
that's
them, we
where
have
we
already
add
we have
on.
already engaged with them, but it was just a matter of asking for us because people they are really interested, and I think they want really to go into it seriously. So, and
Let's
another
register the
question:
company.
there is a friend I helped. We bought a land in Kenya. We went even through an advocate in Eldoret. Only at the end of the day to be conned, we went to the land. Even they showed us the land in Matunda. We visited the land many times. And at finalizing or paying the last deposit is when we realized, okay, we went to the land and we find that the land is owned with two more other people. And we have a title deed now, but we cannot access this land. Is there a way we can get it, or it means we are conned and we cannot access this land anymore?
No, I should advise from the point of information. What I would request is at least adequate information on the acquisition of that land.
Okay.
If we could share, we could see, can we salvage that transaction or is a foregone issue?
Okay.
So if we could share the acquisition documents so that we can establish the processes. Because some of these things, they start from the process, the mischief. The mischief originates from the beginning.
Okay. Yeah, that's true.
The company you are using, is it legitimacy of that company? The legal documents that were done?
No, that was through a private person, but we had an advocate from Eldoret who were advised to use. So that was just a single land through a private, not through a company.
Yes, that's what I'm saying. Okay, now I'm saying now the advocate who the processes from the beginning. That's why I said to understand the mischief is first give me the documents, engage me constructively, and give me the documents.
Then I'll get privately. Then I'll get your contacts and maybe I'll write email and then we can get in touch.
Yeah, don't throw the towel until maybe we digress on the issue.
Okay.
Property is very emotive, so before you give up, let's go deep and see whether can we salvage it.
I think that is exactly the thing. Ladies, kama ulinunua kitu na umekoniwa mahali, we have Mr. Wanjau's contact. Please, kama umeshalipa, people are claiming, some of them are claiming wamelipa mpaka mwisho and they've never been given title deeds. Please check with Mr. Wanjau and I'm sure you'll be helped on that. So maybe I close with one or two questions. One of them goes to Mr. Ndichu. I think you were talking about water supply, tarmac. My question is, if I have bought a piece of land that I'm not using and it's just lying somewhere, do I have to pay for the sewers? Do I have to pay like for the electricity, pole ikiekwa mahali near, or the sewers, all those rates? Do I have to pay to the government? I can just leave that and only start paying when I'm using that land? That is a question number one. Of course, not in a gated community, hiyo itakuwa imeshasimama, sio hiyo yenye iko Pazurina, but this is somewhere else. And then the second question will go to Mr. Wanjau is, you mentioned about this advanced possession of land. I think most of us diasporans are going through that. We bought land, tumeachia family to do the caretaking, let's say an uncle, an aunt, and after some time, without us knowing, we are being told they can possess this land. But we have the title deeds. And after those 12 years of them staying there, are they going to possess it? Do they have the right to get it? Because I was some time back told that I really have to go back and start getting like, I have an agreement in a chief of the area, written and signed by this person I've put on my piece of land as a caretaker because the years are passing. So what happens if I have the title deed with me and I've even put a caveat on it? can they still be the advance rightfully possessors of this land at a certain period, after a few years? So that is exactly the question. Maybe Mr. Ndichu and then the advocate.
Thank you. Now, for the utilities, you are charged depending on the usage, but there is a monthly starting from the meters. They charge you a monthly fee for the meter. So like water, there's a bill that will be sent to your house for the usage.
Yeah.
Yes. And then when it accumulates, they come and disconnect the services themselves. So it's advisable that even if you are not using the land, if it's connected to the utilities, you pay the monthly charges.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you. Okay, then I have to pay sawa sawa. So, Mr. Muga, that is the.
Yes, this issue of adverse possession is a very emotive issue.
Yeah.
But I can say the rights of our adverse possessor, they are not cast on stone per se, because this is hostile possession by clearly asserting hostile title in denial of the true owner. What we normally advise people is having activity on your land, whatever house, no matter how slight it is, because you put somebody there, take care of my land. Let's be practical.
Yeah.
Azalie watoto hapo. Watoto wasome hapo.
Yeah.
You know, you see that person says now, my life for the last 18 years has been on this land.
Okay.
You see, it becomes it's something that has bogged down very many courts. There's no hard and fast rule, but this person says, where should I go?
Yeah. Okay.
So it's an issue now. You have to be very careful. Either engage that land in some way. Don't let it's like you have already abandoned your land. Do farming, engage, lease, do an agreement maybe through an advocate, lease it for some cultivation of some sort. You see, it shows there is that constructive ownership now.
Okay.
You engage, give me that land, we do a lease for 4 years. I grow wheat or I grow coffee or whatever. You see, your presence can be felt through a third party. You are trying to remove this person who might come here and talk about adverse possession. After 4 years or 5 years, engage, do another lease until when you decide to come and take full ownership. But this thing being an absentee landlord or owner for 15 years, it can come to haunt you.
Okay.
So what we normally advise is have that leasehold arrangement with people, and I've done so many leases to that effect. I just try to remove your caretaker from assuming ownership, and it works. Don't entirely leave everything to your caretaker. Have leases with people who would want to till on that land, do something constructive on that land through a lease, so that I can have a tenure maybe of 3 years, 5 years, or 6 years. After that, you can do another lease. So it will show the original owner is hands-on constructively.
Okay. So is it possible to have this lease also with the caretaker as an agreement? Or the other way is, can I go into an agreement or maybe contract and say, I'm renting this house for you to stay here, and then you're paying rent. Does that count?
It will suffice. It will suffice very well.
Okay. Okay.
Don't make it. You know what the problem you do with people in diaspora? You do these things orally.
Yeah.
Legitimize them through official documentation. It works. Come, we do a list.
You have my papers. We do that.
Yes. It works very well. You are trying to remove that notion of I've been taking care of this property for 15 years. No. And make sure you are having a lease that is renewable. So we'll have that clause for renewable. He can never in any time, because you have already broken that issue of possession. You tell him we'll be having 3 years lease renewable at a minimal cost. So you break this tenure of long tenure of a tenant. So he can never come and say, I'll be living here for 10 years. No, you tell him, I'll be giving you a lease for 4 years, 5 years. After that, we renew. You can even break it to tell him this year, I'm not giving you the lease. It's called breaking. Technically, you're trying to remove that notion that he has lived there for over 12 years.
Okay,
And it has worked for so many tenants.
This is something that I'm asking also for myself, and I've had some ladies in here who've actually been kicked out of their lands by their uncles or aunties or whatever. Is it possible to engage you online without us coming home?
Yes,
or
it's possible.
Do we have to appear there? Okay.
No. It's possible. You have to engage me constantly. You know, a lawyer's time and advisor is
constructively. Oh, my,
yes.
We'll engage you constructively.
Yes.
Yes, okay. Thank you very much. I think this is one of the Zooms that, because diasporans are always like, most of us, I would say 70% of us have been conned by either direct or indirect friends or relatives, or direct close relatives or close friends. So having such a session is such an eye-opener that sijui vile nitasema asante, and on behalf of all those who are on board, who are online, and those who are watching from our Facebook page, tunasema asante, because 3 hours Zoom, whoa. Hiyo ni muda mrefu sana. So our guest speakers, that is Mr. Munga Wanjau, that is Mr. Dichu, Mr. Ng'ang'a na Waweru. Marvin, umerudi? Aya. I say thank you very much on behalf of Quick members. We have your contact in our Facebook page, a Facebook group, and we are also going to share them, if you allow us, on our Facebook page, and we will also share them on our YouTube channel, so that at least many diasporans who've been in such a situation like most of us in here can try and contact you and learn something from that as well. For all the attendees, first of all, Pazurina and Nelius Baduko Ndio, Mr. Joseph, and all the Pazurina workers, we are so happy because they are also our partners and always our sponsors, let me put it that way, in all the events. So I want to say thank you very much for always standing with us and working close with us. And that is why for such an occasion, everybody sees, okay, hawataki tu kuuza shamba, but they also want to educate us to know what exactly is required of us before acquiring that piece of land that they want to sell. I want to say thank you very much. That was one of the best Christmas presents. Christmas imekuja, Father Christmas amekuja mapema raundi. And to Mr. Wanjau, I also want really to engage you on our nil returns. Please, please, please. This is something that I've like, nangoja tarembili. I'm a nil return filer. Tarembili, and I'm so proud. I print all the certificates and I have them. So I've never known that I've been doing something wrong, or maybe it's right, you never know. So please, January, we will need you. Get us somebody from there. We need an educational session again. Mr. Moses Ng'ang'a, Mr. Ndichu, Marvin, I'm sure bado tutawahitaji. Hii sio mwisho wa lami. Hatujamalizana na nyinyi bado. We'll still need your guidance as well in such in your areas, specific areas. All the attendees, asanteni tena sana. Charity, that is our community manager. Tunasema asante. Thank you for collecting all the questions and presenting. That is Ms. Charity Yuko hapo. Maybe you want to say a word or two.
Thank you. Thank you so much. I'm really appreciate this very educational forum. And that is why we have stayed until these hours. You could go on and on. There are still so many unanswered questions, but
Yeah.
I've written to them in the chat. They are all saying their thank yous to all of you individually, and very many have appreciated. I can't read all the messages. There are very many, but it was just thank you to all of you. And they are very glad that we are going to have another session in January. And the nil returns is really a big issue. We didn't know it. We have been pumping each other's heads and saying, as long as you write nil returns, yeah. Thank you for updating us on that. Thank you very much. Yeah. And Pazurina, thank you for this Christmas gift. Yes,
Thank you very much, Charity. Also want to say, Jenny, one of our admins, maybe you can say a word or two. Thank you for assisting.
I don't want to say much. I'm just very grateful. I've learned a lot, and the turn up was amazing. Ladies, this is what Quick wants: information, passing information. Kesha tutasema tulikoniwa, because now we know where to go. We have a lawyer, we have an architect, we have every person that we need here to help us. We are so happy for this. Asanteni sana. Our viewers and people on Facebook, those who attended Zoom, well done. This was amazing. Asanteni sana.
Nelius, do you have a word or two to say?
Thank you. Thank you for your time. Thank you, everyone. Thank you to the ladies in Germany. You've really done wonders. For all that time, a diaspora person is seated, listening to us, questions. Thank you for the engaging words and everything. We cannot thank you enough. Welcome to Pazurina Holdings. We sell properties. We have real lawyers, advocates. We have real valuers. We have architects. We have everything. And we have even anyone which you may in future wish to engage. So thank you, Quick, for trusting in us. Invite more members to come and invest with us.
Thank you, Nelius. Of course, that we are doing. And I must say, I'm a proud owner of a title deed within the golf course. And we are quite a number. And I know there are some who are at the, like, on the other parts as well. So, and I'm sure, and I also want to say Pazurina is only not selling. They're also at a plants zimeisha as a golf course, the houses. So, wanawajengea pia. So, kuna architect mmeona, kuna surveyor mmeona, kuna valuer mmeona, and then kuna advocate mmeona. So, kuna, the plants are ready. Pia zitajengwa, wenye wamechukua hapo plots, they'll be built for at the golf course. Hizo ziko tayari. Yeah. Asanteni, and have a good evening kila mtu, and hoping to meet again next time. Have a good evening. Salimiane kila mtu. Kwaheri Florence, Irene, Carol K, kwaheri Astra, Sarah, Marianne, Flo, Florence, Sue, Linda, Ruth, Josephine, Tree, Purity, Jenny, Nelius, Alice, Charity, thank you for joining. Have a good evening and God bless.
Appreciate it.
Thank you.
And God bless.
Yeah.
Thank you very much.
Bye.
Yeah, sikuwapatia hata muda ya kusema kitu. Advocate.
No, God bless.
Let me stop the Facebook recording. Why, guy?